Okay, can you tell me the best practices to write LWC components?
Okay, sure. So basically, LWC is something, it is specifically, it has a robust thing of segregating the things, whereas writing JavaScript separately and, components separately and, the main logic separately. So when consider these things, the reusability is main thing where this will bring a big advantage. And so we need to consider whenever we are writing an LWC. The reusability should be in our mind. So wherever we can use the toast messages or something like that, or any logics or any CSS that can be used. So it should be written separately, in keeping in the mind that the reusability is one of the best practice, and other one is wherever it is required. So we need to go for a wire method rather than going for a to call simple. And the major things which come into my mind are is one is reusability and one is using a wire method is something where which is the great feature of LWC.
Okay.
So, but and also one more thing, we can go for the lazy loading wherever it is required rather than hitting every completed table wherever it is required. So the data can be loaded as we scroll.
Okay. So what are the different ways we have to call epics in LWC components?
Yeah, we can call in 3 ways, I believe. One is using @wire decorator, and other one is using imperative method, and next third one could be lightning message service, I believe. LDS, I believe.
Data service.
Yeah, data service.
Okay. So what is the difference between this wire and imperative?
Basically, wire is something where we want to fetch the data and display. There is no, event is involved. Wherever the user interaction, when we are hitting some button and the action should be called with respect to that and some logic should be performed, then we'll go for imperative method.
Okay, can we call this wire decorator in our connected callback?
I think as per the flow, that is separately called, and I think we cannot call inside the connected callback.
Okay.
As per the order, I think wire comes first and next would be the connected.
So what does order says? Wire come first and then connected callback.
Yes. And next again wire.
And then next again wire. So why so?
Basically, after connected callback only, it will be knowing what data should be transmitted to the component back. So though the order goes like that, but data receivability can only be sent after the connected callback.
Okay, so at the first time, wire will not going to give us any output or the debugs from the apex, right? And the second time after the connected callback, it will going to give us the controller data.
Correct. Yeah, correct. That's what I mean. Yeah, I did not put it.
Okay. Okay, when this connected callback is required in the components?
Whenever we want to, include some logics, whenever we want to have some logic that should be executed. So we'll be going for the connected callback. The main logic that will be written inside the connected callback.
Main logic like?
The component has been inserted and some data should be, manipulated there. With respect to that, the code can be written there.
Okay.
The business logic, yeah.
The first time whenever the this component will insert it into our DOM, so whatever the things we want to do, we'll be going to do in this connected callback. Right? Yeah. Okay. And when does this render callback comes in picture?
After connected callback and the rendering phase has been completed, the rendered callback will come into the picture. And whenever we are using, whenever we are trying, such as an example is that whenever we are clicking on any button, something has to be changed in the backend, or in such a kind of scenarios, we'll be using this rendered callback.
Okay, so in such cases, this means render callback will going to execute multiple times, right?
Yes.
So will it be okay for our component?
It's not a right practice, but this is really a complex thing to use this. We need to keep in mind it is not re-triggering always. Using the track,
Mm-hmm.
variable or a property, then we can avoid that.
Okay. Mhm. So what is the use of track decorator?
Track decorator is so yeah. Coming to track decorator, it is a reactive property, and wherever we use a track decorator, and it is a private, and whenever we declare it in a component, if we update at one place, it will be reflected everywhere. It has been where it has been referenced.
So currently by default, all the properties are reactive, right? So still do we require this track decorator?
Sorry, can you come again? I
Yeah.
was unable to catch you.
Yeah. So currently all the properties are by default reactive, right?
Yes.
So do we still require this track decorator?
Yeah, it is still required whenever we are using with arrays or list of connections or somewhere. Yeah, it can be used there still.
Okay.
Okay.
So what are shadow DOM?
Shadow DOM, basically DOM is a document object model. So it is a logical tree, and whatever the HTML, CSS and JavaScript that we write will be converted to machine understanding, language in the DOM that is will be in the DOM. So whereas DOM is a global kind of a thing, and the shadow DOM is something DOM inside the DOM, and it will be private to the component, whatever the JavaScript and HTML, CSS will be scoped to the component itself.
Okay. So have you worked on this LMS or PubSub also?
Yeah, I have knowledge about it. I got a chance to look into the things there. Yeah.
Okay. So what are they?
So whenever we would like to interact between unrelated components, so we'll go with the PubSub or LMS.
Mm-hmm. And what is the difference between both? Yeah.
Yeah, PubSub is something JavaScript feature. So here we need to basically whenever we want to have a connection or a communication between two unrelated components, initially we need to create a PubSub component where we will be using publish subscribe singleton library, and that we need to be then we should create a publish component, and we need to import the reference of current page reference there, and as well as we need to import the fire event that has to be triggered from here to PubSub component. And at the same time, after that, we need to also create subscript component where we'll import current page reference there, and register listener and list the listener as well. And the fire event also should be entered. So when based on that, PubSub component help us to have interaction between the publisher component uh, and subscribe component as we subscribe it from there. Coming to LMS, LMS is a Salesforce functionality where it is enhanced of publish and subscribe functionality, that the features that has been provided by JavaScript. It leverages little more functionality here. So we can communicate between the two unrelated components. For that, we need to create a message service initially, and we need to create an XML inside it and have having the relevant fields in that, and this has to be imported in publish component and the component that we want to publish, and we can pass the data from there in the subscribe component by importing the subscribe thing there. So yeah, LMS will be helpful also in interacting with unrelated components.
Okay, so let's suppose you have to connect between the unrelated components. So how or what things you will consider either to go with LMS or with the PubSub?
Basically, we have two features, but whenever we want to use, the more flexibility we have in LMS is like we can interact between the VF page and our components and as well as web components in LMS, where that is not possible in PubSub, I believe. So yeah, when such interactions of between the different components we have, then we can go with LMS. Since we can also perform the same functionality in PubSub as well.
Yeah. So LMS will be the better option as compared to the PubSub.
Yeah.
In case of implementation also and in case of flexibilities also.
Yeah.
Okay. So what are the custom events here?
Yeah, custom event is something where this will come into picture when we want to interact between child to parent component. So in that scenarios, we can use custom event.
So what type of data we can pass from child to parent component? Like, can I pass the list of subjects or the list of records? Can I do so?
Yeah, in custom event, as part of the details and in the parameters, we can pass records, objects, and primitive and non-primitive data types as well.
Okay. Okay. What are the best practices to write a trigger?
Yeah. Whenever we are going with a trigger, so we need to make sure to have a one trigger per one object, and we should not hard code anywhere in the trigger first thing, and the query should be avoided inside the loops, and as well as DML statements avoided inside the loops, and we also need to take care of naming conventions and wherever the comments are necessary, which will helpful for further analysis of the triggers in future.
Okay. If any scenario comes that there you require to make the SQL query inside a loop, so what you will going to do in such cases?
Basically, we'll write the query outside and we'll run it in the loop using the collections, and we'll add the necessary IDs or whatever we need, and we'll use that reference IDs using set rather than the set is the best option to collect the IDs, as it is it will not take the duplicates. So using that, and we'll loop it inside the for loop, and will make the necessary operation. So ultimately, we can avoid that using collections.
Okay, so your first priority will be to avoid it, right? Okay, and if any case come that the solution is only to make query inside a loop only, so what things you will going to consider or will going to check so it should not hamper the governor limits or the performance of my code?
Yeah, so the basically first thing is to avoid the next. We'll verify how many times the trigger will be executed, and why, because it will be hitting the governing limits of not one SQL exception. So limit exception will be hitting, and the purpose of the trigger would be wasted. So we need to consider that, and we need to, if at all the necessity is like that, we should take any boolean variable inside that, and we need to make it on and off in order to make it run appropriately as it needed.
Okay, so how many times our trigger runs or executed?
Trigger will be executed based on the events that has been defined. So yeah, whenever we have a multiple events, so based on that it will run, like before insert and after insert, before events and after events we have, right? Okay. Based on that, the trigger will run.
Okay, do the trigger runs in a batches of records?
You mean, could you please elaborate the question?
Okay, like suppose I have 400 records, okay, which I will going to upload, okay, using a data loader, and on the same object trigger is written on insert, okay, before insert or after insert any event is there. So in such cases, how many times the trigger will going to run or it will going to execute my logic? Will all 400 records will be processed at the same time, or the trigger will going to execute them in a bunches?
It will be, as per my knowledge, I think it will run each time for each record. It will not be considered as a one batch.
Okay. So what will happen? The trigger will run first time, will take a bunch of 200 records. Okay, that will be processed, and then the next 200 records will come. Let the same process we used to do happen in this batches of 200. So the same thing will be going to happen in this triggers also. Okay, so if you have ever noticed, when we used to do the recursion, how to avoid the recursion, we use this boolean variables and all. Okay, so if we normally will going to use this boolean variable, it will going to works only for the first time, that is for only the first 200 records, not for the next 200 records. Okay.
Yeah, trigger recursion will avoid the running of a trigger multiple times. But I was thinking like when so each record will have its own flow order of execution, and the things has to be done. So I
Okay,
was
you
assuming
yeah,
that.
you thought in a way of order of execution, yeah.
Okay, yeah, I got it. Thank
Okay. Okay. So how we can avoid the recursion of triggers? What are the ways we have?
you. Yeah, trigger recursion is something we can handle. Having it, we can write a recursive class and having a boolean property in that, and whenever by default it should be kept as true or false, any one property, and once the trigger has been run with when the event has been triggered, so we can make it turn off, and always uh, that will call in the trigger it will be calling the default class, and again the boolean variable will be set to default. So yeah, in this way we can avoid the recursion of the trigger.
Any other way other than this? Because I don't think it is a best way or the better way to avoid the recursion when we have a large amount of records.
Any other way? Yeah, I'm unable to recollect anything right now.
Okay, what if I collect the IDs of the records which are already processed, and next time when the next record come in the loop, so I will check whether this is this ID of record or any value of this record is already processed or not, and based on this will going to execute my logic for this particular record.
Yeah, that is also possible, but yeah, that's based on the functionality what we have. Yeah, if we have a certain thing and it will not update multiple times, then I believe yeah, this approach can be done.
Okay, so whenever we used to create our field, so there are the checkbox, unique checkboxes there. What does this mean?
So the value will only be taken unique value. It can't be with the same value with the same name. If the
Yeah.
name field is name or mobile number field is there, the mobile number can be taken only once. It can't be a duplicate. It will not take duplicate values to
So how it will
make it
going to
present.
help you? Like suppose if my any ABC field is there and this is marked as unique. Okay, so from the UI, first record is created with the value test. Okay, now the next time again from the UI, I am creating second record with the same value test. So will it going to identify it, and on UI itself I going to get some error, or what will happen?
Yeah, in the UI itself, it will be throwing an error because the unique has been checked as part of, it is all about the data validation that we need to consider into the record saving. So it has to restrict that when the duplicate value has been provided. Likewise, like we can, if we are using any usernames or anything, so we should have a unique one there. So in that cases, this should be the field should be a unique. rather than having a duplicate values there.
Mm-hmm. And how it can be helpful if I am uploading any data using data loader?
Data loading means, yeah, either we can take ID as a unique, or else we can also load by taking this ABC field which we had kept as a unique. So yeah, it will solve the purpose. Either we can we consider this as a reference value to upload the records.
Okay. What are the difference between public groups and the queues?
Yeah, queues are somewhere where we can use it in assignment rules, and assignment rules we have in leads and as well as on case object. So whenever the case has been created, the queue will be assigned to it with respect to the assignment rule that we had created, and it will be having the group of users, and any one of all of them will be getting the notification in that any one of the bunch of users can pick that up and work on that. Whereas public groups can be referenced, it is also a group of users where we can create, and it can be used at multiple places. So it can be in public rules or list views or providing any access, or it can be referenced at multiple places.
Okay. Can public group be the owner of any records?
No.
Okay, no. And queues?
Yes.
Queues can be the owners. So what will happen if a queue is a owner of record, but as in the queue we have a number of users already, okay, added to it. So if I make an queue and a record owner of any record, so what will happen in such cases?
Yeah, any one of the user in the queue, all the users will basically, each queue will be having an email defined whenever the queue has been created. So that email will be mostly a distribution list where group of users will be there. So one of them will be picked up, and that will be assigned to them. All the users in the queue
will get notified,
will
and
be
anyone
having the ownership to that.
Yeah.
Okay. Will get notified. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Can you explain me the data security in Salesforce?
Yeah, data security. Basically, you have two levels of security. One is the object level security, and other one is the record level security. When consider the object level security, we have OWDs, and on that we can define the base level of object access, like private, public, and public read only, declared write or something like that. And whereas again, the object level security can also be handled in permission sets. Whereas for data or record level security, we have a role hierarchy, which after the role hierarchy data visibility. And apart from that, also we can extend the use of document sharing.
So what I understand, you said that OWDs comes under the object level security, right?
It's a base level, but defines for the object.
Base level, yeah,
the base
it is.
of
Yeah, it is the base level, but not for the object. As it is the base level, will be for the record level securities. Okay, for the object level, profiles will be the base level. Okay, or the most restrictive things where we can provide the access, and the permission sets we have to enhance the permissions. Okay, so these two comes under the object level.
Yeah.
And then we have fields level. Again, here we have profiles and permission sets to handle. Okay, and then finally we have record level access, where OWD will be the base level or the most restrictive. And then we have role hierarchies, and then we have sharing rules. This can be of two type, either the honor based or the criteria based. Okay, and then next we have manual sharing. Okay, where we need to, whenever the requirement to share individual records, then the manual sharing will comes. And then at last we have the epic sharing, that is the code implementation to share the records.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So if OWD is private, what does this mean?
OWD is private means only the owner who has created that can access it on that object.
Okay. So in my current scenario, what is happening? Two users are there, and for a object OWD is private, but still both the users are able to see each other's record. So what can be the possibilities here?
There could be three possibilities. I mean, first one would be user can be hack level of that guy who has created it, or it has been shared via mail sharing or sharing rules is the other option. And next option would is able to see might be having view all modify all access on that object.
Yeah, on the profile itself or on the permission sets, they have viewable or modifiable, which means anything they can access for this particular object. The full permissions is given. Okay.
Yeah.
And if I want to run my particular code or piece of code in user mode, what things I have to do?
I think we can use system.run as, and we can use that data, and we can use that directly using the schema or pull that user. So we can make it run as that user.
Okay. System.run as will going to run the things with the logged in user, but I don't think it will going to check for the permissions also. Okay, have you heard about this without sharing and with sharing?
Without sharing also is something, kind of.
Yeah, so with sharing and without sharing are also here. Yeah, in which we can implement in our code. But here again, they will only check for the record level access. Okay, like the OWD sharing rules and all. But for the particular user, if I want to check the object level and the field level securities also, then I need to check or need to take a help of a schema, right? Using this schema, we are going to check either the user is having the permission of this particular object or not. Okay, so that is also additionally added in our code. Then it will going to completely run in a system user mode.
Yeah.
Okay, so what are custom metadata and custom settings?
Custom settings and custom metadata. Custom metadata is something what we are creating on each object, so it's called as a custom metadata. Whereas custom settings is something where we can. It is also an object where we have two ways, I think, like two types custom settings, hierarchy or some other thing I did not remember, but where we can do that data list and hierarchy, I guess.
Yeah, there are two types of custom setting, list and hierarchy. List will be visible to all, that is organization by default. Okay, in complete organization it is visible, and hierarchy can be managed based on the profiles in the of the users. Okay, its visibility can be managed. And so which is better to go either with custom setting or custom metadata? What do you think? What are your points to go with?
So I think custom setting can be referenced globally with the dollar and anywhere we want. So that is the major advantage. You can go with the custom setting. But when I go for custom data, we will be and we not be accessed it globally.
Custom metadata, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And anything related to, is there any limitations creating the fields in custom setting or custom metadata? The type of fields which we can create in custom metadata but not in settings. Yeah.
So I think we have a limitations obviously for custom settings and custom metadata. So here in custom metadata we have more number of options to create different data type per field. As I think in custom setting we will not be having that many data types to create that, and when we consider it in custom settings, we cannot create as much as field that we can create in custom meta.
Yeah, so there are limitations with the type of field and with the text area also, the number of characters we can add in this particular field. So all these are overcome in the custom metadata. Okay.